Hello semua, my name is Zim Ahmadi, peminat muzik tegar budak baru belajar. Today we're going to review Akid Amir's Ikhlas Untuk Semua Wanita. In extracting from the past of citypop, funk, and disco, Akid Amir creates a palette of futuristic soul that is both nostalgic but has the same modern currency of lo-fi pop that a lot of people are really into nowadays. If you combine the likes of Tatsuro Yamashita and Miki Matsubara with Zach Villiers or Frankie Cosmos, you have Akid Amir's sound. Like his ability to integrate a soulful essence to it while still maintaining a laid-back attitude to production is really what makes this EP special. But before I move on to the tracks, let's focus on an overview of who the artist is. Quoting from an excerpt off of Bandwagon Asia, through the songs were inspired by conversations that Amir had with customers during his barbering trip to Malaysia. Yes, Amir was a barber. The sweet, vibrantly beautiful songs come staunchly from the vision of Akid Amir himself and producer Vox, each of whom has reliably enriched the cultural vortex of made in Singapore music. Like, the reason why I'm quoting this excerpt is because I want to pay attention to the fact that Akid Amir didn't really grow up with that much Malay proficiency in his music. In fact, in Singapore, despite the fact that Malay is a national language, they're not as fluent in the language as the Malaysians are. So it is quite a challenge for him to be able to write such poetic declarations in this EP, despite the fact that he's not as proficient in the language. I mean, it's no Usman Awang poetry. They're much more like candid love declarations that you could find on like refrigerators or in high school love letters. But that in itself gives it its own charm, right? And then on the other end, you have Fox, who is a very like decorated producer. I feel he's been working for a long time with Malaysian artists like Airlivs or MC Size, and also with electronic producers like Ready Rocket. And his release Ikhlas that came out last year is a great mix of like Malaysian influences that weave around like electronic bounce, disco, and hip hop, and pays homage to Tamil music and Hawaiian Malay music. So you have two people coming together. And whether or not they come together as a tour de force, we shall see in the track by tracks. The first track, Wanita, is probably one of my favorite first tracks of any albums in 2019 so far. It starts off with like this digitized vocal effects filled with autotune and then transitions into Akid Amir's natural singing voice. And the way in which he swings in and out of this sound is a testament to how good he is in using the autotune masterfully in this EP. And this song, Wanita, is both laid back and soulful at the same time, especially when Akid Amir sings Syurga Itu Cinta. I can imagine like Indonesian disco artists like Faris RM like nodding vigorously to that because it's so poignant and romantic at the same time. Next, we have Ibu. So Ibu is it has a great decent autotune melody to it. I love the vocal harmony, so that's what really makes Ibu an amazing track. And the message of this song is really cool too, because it has that production that's kind of like a wholesome Hallmark ad. And I love that there's a kind of personal intimacy to this track as Akid Amir sings about how his mom nags him, and even though he thinks it's unfair, he remembers that it's his mom that brought him into this world. For example, in lyrics like Bila kau membebel, ku berkata ini tak adil, tapi aku lupa kau bawa aku di dunia. I mean, maybe the melody on Ibu is not as strong as the other tracks in this EP, but it's still a really decent track. Next is Imaginasi, a testimony to Akid Amir's grasp of drama and suspense as it starts with slow claps that are ominously spacious, and then it transitions to this 80s synths that's like really glaring and bright and nocturnal, and the kind of thing where Akid Amir create a narrative without actually using his lyrics to do anything yet. But the lyrics itself is very surreal in this track, especially because I think it reminds me of a bit of like a surreal take on the lo-fi hip hop that you don't really see much in local artists or Asian artists. And there's an R&B groove, I think, that's integrated in this song that really throws me back. And it reminds me of the kind of production that you hear in like rappers No Name, especially her debut Telephone, with the help of producers like Felix. Bersabarlah is another sweet melody for the heart, brain, and soul. I feel like it's one of those tracks that is a bit spiritual. In fact, there's a whole escapist element to this track that Akid Amir brings to the table. And it contains one of my favorite lines of the EP, Lukisan Jiwa, Perlukan Sedikit Masa, which talks about the kind of introspection in which Akid Amir brings in his songwriting. The last track is Tu es jolie, which is French for You Are Pretty, and it's not one of my favorite tracks in this EP, mostly because it doesn't really have a memorable melody or any audio highlights or audio moments that make it stand out, but it still has a lot of lyrical highlights to it. For example, when he sings Hati aku ingin menjadi saksi, ya engkau bukannya mimpi, it's very jiwang, it's very satisfying. And I think in this song, he declares himself as part of that legacy of artists in the Malayan Peninsula. Like, inilah persembahan seni anak Malaya. Here's an artistic performance by a son of Malaya, Akid Amir sings. And that is braggadocious statement to make, but at the same time, it's very quaint because he's declaring his love for a girl with French appearance, or probably is French herself. And it has a great story and lyricism to it, but audio-wise, not much. In conclusion, Ikhlas Untuk Semua Wanita is a beautiful EP. I feel like there's a lot to it that marks Akid Amir as probably having a fruitful career in the future as a big artist. It's one of those like primer EPs that teases you as to an artist's potential. I'm not saying it's revolutionary or the new it thing, but there's a very strong grasp of melody that Akid Amir possesses, and his songwriting simply shows a huge sense of finesse and skill. And definitely give Ikhlas Untuk Semua Wanita a listen. It only works if you let yourself drown in that autotune, the 808s, and the synth breaks, and drench yourself in that dream state of love and appreciation. I feel like there's a lineage of Malay jiwang artists out there that starts with like Pop Yeye or like P. Ramlee, and then continues on with rock kappa, and then emo rock, and then indie rock. Akid Amir feels like the next chapter of that Malay jiwang artist, where maybe the new sound of jiwang is lo-fi digitized pop that could make things more relatable and more honest and more dreamy. But he's not reached his final form yet. That's why I'm giving this album a 4 out of 5. So what did you guys think of the EP? Have you listened to it? Please listen to it on Spotify. There's no excuse for you to skip it since it's on social media and on streaming platforms. If you disagree with anything that I said, or you have your own opinions about the EP itself, or you want to recommend an album that we should review, leave your comments in the comment section or contact us on social media at APRMag42 on Twitter and Facebook, or Awful Track Record on Instagram. My name is Zim Ahmadi. Budak Belajar. Goodbye.